WFAE.com. I'm just curious what you played like when you went to Spain to study in the first place.
When I went to Spain, I didn't know you were supposed to use fingernails in order to use color, like, you know, and then also nail and flesh, or just flesh. So there was 3 tone colors. I only played with flesh, you know, because I cut my fingernails off, because I always did. I was a guy, right?
Right.
So when I got to Spain, you know, my first lesson was my teacher talking about las uñas, which is the fingernails.
Mm-hmm. You also didn't speak Spanish.
Not a word. Not a word.
That was helpful.
Yeah, real helpful. I drew a lot of pictures in restaurants, you know.
And then it was after you left Spain, as I understand this, and went to, was it Uruguay? Is that correct?
Yes, Montevideo, Uruguay.
Where you learned to move your left hand on the neck of the guitar without that squeak against the metal strings that we so often hear. We even hear in Segovia.
Most definitely.
Recordings.
Yes.
And it took you years of practice.
I had to start all over.
Explain how you do it, because a lot of guitarists, I'm sure, are interested in how you don't get that sound. As you move
the squeak is from friction. So if I'm on the bass strings, you'll hear
as you go up the neck.
As you go up the neck. So what I do is, and my teacher taught, Abel Carlavaro, the silence is preferred. And so if I have to do a shift in slow motion, then I'm going to deaden this note with my next finger. I'm going to play. I'm going to lift perpendicular to the string. If I don't, we'll hear a squeak.
So you're actually lifting your hand off the neck of the guitar.
Correct.
But Segovia, when you went to his master class, before you learned this technique, said that your playing was clean with a sound to be admired. Did he hear you play after you learned that technique?
No, he just didn't, since he squeaked and I squeaked, we all squeaked together. It was a squeaky society in Spain. You know?
How far along do you think you would have progressed had you not had that chance meeting with Segovia and some of the other people who helped you along the way, both in terms of teaching you and mentoring you and maybe moving you into this circle of music that is so rare in parts of the world?
It would have been hopeless, you know, because I didn't know anything. You know, to learn, you have to get with a maestro. It's not in a book. So, you know, maybe I could have figured it out, but I doubt it.
But you're known for creating these books to help people.
Oh, sure. For me, teaching and playing is the same. You know, you can't be a great player, not a great teacher.
CharlotteGuitarSociety.com. We have to take a break. We're coming right back. It's Charlotte Talks on listener-funded 90.7 WFAE and 90.3 WFHE. I'm Mike Collins, and our guest in this segment, head of Phantom of the Opera, is Ben Bolt, the classical guitarist. I want to talk about what you've learned about your student from your students, because you just said that you learn a lot from beginners. That's counterintuitive to me, but what would you learn from a beginner?
You see things that really the level's almost identical, only a master guitar player or any kind of artist has experienced it where the beginning student has not. But things like guitars going out of tune, concentration, time management. A student might have a problem because they've got to go to school and do chores at home. A concert artist has to deal with scary plane flights, getting there on time, dealing with new people, sleeping in different beds. You know, the list goes on. But also, I'll see a student do something that's incredibly, that I could actually use, but because they're so intuitive, I'll see a certain body move that they do that reminds me, hey, I ought to try that in that complicated piece I'm doing. And 9 times out of 10, it will work.
You are noted as being the first guitarist to introduce classical guitar to the masses using notation, tablature, and recording in the same format. The recording is easy to understand. You record what the music is, so people can hear how it's supposed to be played. Tell me I don't understand this. Tell me, because I'm not a guitarist. Tell me the difference between notation and tablature.
Okay, notation, actually tablature came first.
Okay.
And it's a series of numbers. For the guitar, it would be 6 lines, which would represent the 6 strings, and the numbers would represent the frets that you would put your fingers on. The problem with tablature is it does not tell you exactly, you know, how long do you hold each note. Yeah, the duration. And so, therefore, that's when music got invented.
Oh.
Notation.
Well, I was going to say, why do you even need tablature in the presence of notation?
Well, there's only so many hours in the day. And so, if you're a doctor and you're doing surgery, reading music on the guitar is just as hard as playing it. Whereas with tablature, you can start playing right away.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you know where to put your fingers.
Yes. Painting by numbers, if you will.
But through tablature, you can only hit the right note. You can't hit the right rhythm necessarily. The rhythm has to be in your head. You have to know what the song sounds like.
Right.
Correct? That's why the CD?
There you go. And when I first started this, there was the tape.
But that sounds, yes, I understand that. But that sounds much more difficult to me than learning to read music.
Well, everybody's wired differently. And so, my serious students that start out with tablature, they want to learn how to read music. And I read music better than I read tablature. If there's something in tablature and music, I'll read the music any day.
And you're the first person to have done this.
All together in a package. Back in the early 80s, how it was a student wanted me to write it out in tab, and they wanted to learn some classical. This was when heavy metal was getting real big, and there was a classical influence. Mm-hmm. And then they would forget how the song went, like I would do let me see. Jethro Tull did it. Yngwie Malmsteen did it. A lot of rock bands, and that's the Bach Beret in E minor. Mm-hmm. They would forget the rhythm, so then they would bring in their little cassette player, and I'd record it. And then the mother would come in and say, "Man, can you teach him some music?" So way back then, you would have a book in notation and tab, or you'd have something in notation with the little plastic record, like mm-hmm. Guitar Player Magazine would do, or with a tape, but never the three all together.
Now, I'm told at this concert you are toying with the idea of playing the Hallelujah Chorus. Is that correct?
That's correct. I've arranged that, all the parts.
What does the Hallelujah Chorus sound like on guitar? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. I mean, it's a great piece, and it's actually quite easy, except for one page with all the counterpoint. Because when you hear the orchestra, all it is just a D. All that is it's just what's called a 1-4-5 progression. So if you're not a musician listening out there, folks, that's D, G, A. That's all it is. With the exception, of course, of for this. And it goes on from there,
Right.
So,
what else is on tap on Saturday night?
I'm playing some Spanish music. Mm-hmm. I'm playing Asturias, one of my all-time favorites, and Serenata by Malats. Wonderful piece. Right now, it's my favorite piece. This piece has it all, I think. So it's got dance to it. It's got lyrical qualities. It's got some virtuoso scales, and it's just a fun piece, and everybody loves it.
Your master class is Saturday at 10 a.m., and I'm told, you just told me, there's space available there if you'd like to go and take from a master. You can go to charlotteguitarsociety.com for information about that. But the concert is at Tate Hall on the campus at CPCC, right down the street from us here, Saturday at 7:30. Ben Bolt, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you so much for bringing your guitar. That's always a great treat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.